This is this month's DEI talk. I'm Claudia Thompson. I'm head of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion panel for BNI US. I'm a managing director for New York, a fan of BNI, and all of those things. And so this month is very special to myself as I identify as Latin. I am Panamanian. I think many of you know this. And so this month we have Latin and Hispanic Heritage Month. And we have amazing guests. We had a third guest. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it at the last minute. He was out of Denver. But we do have two amazing, powerful women whom I've gotten to know. And I'm just excited for this conversation today. So as always, make sure as we go through the conversation, feel free to flood the chat for our folks that are here live. And then, of course, you're more than welcome to use the Q&A if you have a specific question, just so it doesn't get lost. And this, of course, will be also on our BNI USA YouTube page as well. Okay, so without further ado, we'll start this off by introducing our two special guests. And so we have we have Jessica Melendez, who's in real estate, and she is a part of, it's the Kings region, and it's in my region, but it's Brooklyn. I mean, that's what we know. It is Kings County, but it is Brooklyn. And so Jessica's here today. She's a brand new president of a brand new chapter. So welcome, Jess. Nice to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. And then Miss Angela Estes. She is in Rapid City, South Dakota. Okay, I want to know what that the Latin experience is out there. She is a powerful Brazilian woman. She runs a physical therapist clinic. And she also does some baking as well on the side. So Angela, thank you for being here with us.
Hi, Claudia and everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to jump in for some questions that we have today, and feel free to answer as much as you want, because now Luis is not here, so we have more time for us just to chat. So of course, first, what inspired you to be in the profession that you're in now? So I'll actually start with Angela.
Well, I went to school to work on my degree in business with emphasis in marketing. And I've always been that type of person who likes to organize things just to make processes better. Let's put it this way, in the professional world. So here I am. I'm just getting our clinic to a different level. And that's what I want to make sure that processes get better. People feel better.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know just from being so active and just getting older, that physical therapy is like key. So you're doing good work. And I love people that are passionate about processes. So thank you for sharing that. So Jess, what about you?
Well, for me, so my background is actually in real estate accounting. I did that for about 13 years. And right around 2018, things started to click. And like, these books are making sense to me. I need to get into this. So I started investing. I got licensed that year, started investing in 2019. And then right around COVID, I decided to kind of use my license actively in sales.
Wow.
So kind of what brought me into being a realtor.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's you said accounting, which frightens me slightly, but because it's math and numbers, yikes.
Yeah.
But I love that you were in that profession. That's kind of how I got into sales. I was actually going to veering the path of teaching, and but was working in a sales environment just temporarily. And they were like, you should do sales. And I was like, and I just got the bug. I got excited and the passion around it. So that is really good to know. And I can imagine too, even being in New York, it's just a different animal for sure. So I can only imagine that. So that's pretty cool. Both of you, just kind of, I don't know if it was a path, because a lot of times I think we hear people say that family inspired them, or it's been in their path because of what they've seen. And so I think for us, especially as women of color, it's often we have to carve out our path because it's not something that's generationally there. So I always find it fascinating. So I'm just curious. Let's just dive into it. What obstacles did you encounter getting into your profession? So Jess, I definitely want to start with you.
Gee, thanks. For me, honestly, the difficulty started at my job. And I was trying to grow within my job. I was managing construction projects. Everything was just so interesting to me. In many occasions, I was literally the only woman in the room,
Mm-hmm.
let alone Hispanic.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where now I kind of plateaued, and they very willingly said, no, we want you exactly where you're at. And I, to me, it was like, well, no, this is my life. At some point, I need to take control. Obviously, I got pregnant around that same time, and now my priorities were a lot different. And I think one thing I've definitely experienced in the Hispanic, being raised Hispanic, is our parents teach us to be loyal to the people who employ us. And I felt that for a long time. And it wasn't until I was seeing a different path that I started questioning things. And I'm like, you know what? No, I need to figure this out, and I need to find my path to create my own path, really, and my own destiny. I think my biggest obstacle was kind of my job and not wanting to offend people by leaving or growing. That was honestly my biggest obstacle.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you. I'm having a delay. Can you all hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. I'll just turn my camera off for a minute. So yeah, so God, you said so many things that are relevant. I'll be back live, everybody. I just my computer just went really crazy. Jess, you said so many things that I relate to myself, right? And I think that is so true, especially of Hispanic and Latin households, about that loyalty, regardless if you're not feeling wanted or you're feeling like a sense of belonging, right? They often don't create it. My mom is pretty remarkable because she went off on her own and started her own business, but she started it in her 50s, right? Finally, because she had 5 degrees, and they still were like, you're good here. I have experienced as well, like doing all of the things, being successful, wanting to be coached, wanting to be developed, and having that trajectory to move up is hard because they're kind of like, you're good in your position, right? We're not willing to pay you more. We're not willing to actually create that path for you. And I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. So that hit me right right in the gut, because that just has been my whole life, my career, right? So thank you for sharing. Angela, how about yourself?
It's interesting. You're asking about the obstacles, and I'll tell you this. I arrived in Rapid City as a volleyball player on a scholarship, and then I was already in a, let's say, higher education environment. So I was there. I was a work study for a certain amount of years. Then I was offered the position to manage the mailroom of the university. So they saw my potential, and then they actually gave me the opportunity. I tried to get into marketing right away, and it was a little difficult. Did not have anybody to kind of back me up. It was new here. I don't have family, in the area. So it was difficult. And then I kind of started just getting into the administration side of it and showing my passion. But to tell the truth, obstacles, yes, they were there. To tell you, like, right now at this institution, the clinic where I'm working at, I'm the only Afro-Brazilian, and they hired me for my merit. And it's interesting that they are giving me the opportunity to just expose what I know. They gave me the key to just make sure, okay, you take care of our clinic. But the obstacles, it's interesting because at this place right now, I don't see that. I don't feel that. But I know it's there. I know it was there in the past with some other places, at other places that I wanted to be part of. But because the minority is like, we have like not even 1% of African Americans here in South Dakota, in Rapid City, South Dakota, it's there. If you're going someplace, you need to make sure you know somebody. Yes.
Wow, yes. And obstacles too. It's not like I hate when I talk to people who are not who are non-BIPOC, people of color, and they're like, "Oh, you're always talking about obstacles." And it's like, yes, I do know there are opportunities afforded to me, like this one, right? I'm well aware that I'm positioned in a certain place and in a certain way for I also work hard for it, right? I've found that some people are mediocre and get by on the bare minimum and can get more opportunities than myself. And obstacles still they stink, right? Like they still are in the way. And it sounds like to me, Angela, that sounds like great. It sounds like you've just gotten a safer space where it doesn't bother you as much. That to me, that's what that sounds like. I have had few and far between of those experiences, but most of my experience in working in an office environment or anything else, it does get challenging just with the microaggressions alone. It just the assumptions, especially when I was younger. And I was, 20 years ago when my son was younger, I was going through a divorce. There were all kinds of speculations about what that meant for me. And I'm sure differently than if I was a white woman, so I think, yeah, I think that what you're saying is, yes, there are opportunities afforded to some of us at some times. And there's always this sort of barrier in the way that can be impactful. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, I think also, the microaggressions too. I mean, it sounds like both of you have experienced them. Jess, you had mentioned, I know being in sales, I've been the only woman, the only person of color, many, if not most of the time, that I've been in my career. And, just having people, skip over me, assuming that I don't play golf or that I'm not interested in certain things, or just making plans and not including me. I don't know. Have you experienced any of those?
Well,
Personally, oh, go ahead, Angela. It's
go-
okay. No, go ahead.
you're good. I'm sorry. You go first, Jessie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Personally, none that stick out, but I also tend to lead my life in a positive way. I feel that sometimes when we focus on something that is negative, that's what you end up attracting. So, sometimes like I can definitely say being in these rooms, while I didn't feel the support from everyone, I also knew and was confident enough in myself to know that I didn't need their support.
Mm-hmm.
If I even made it to the room, there's a reason for it. The fact that you agree with it or not is a personal problem.
Right.
So I try to lead that way. It doesn't mean that I don't see it, but I lead with, no, I can be here just as much as you can.
I love that. Yeah. I try most days, but we're human. Some days it gets to us. Some days it does.
Sometimes it definitely does.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great. Angela, what were you going to add?
Oh no, just that it will happen. Some days you feel like stronger than anything, and then you can just face the situation in a graceful manner. Some days you just don't have that strength, and you just like it's better for you to just keep your head down so you don't say anything else, because it's not going to be good, not going to be grateful. But yeah, like you said, we're humans. However, I think with age, I'll put it this way, I've learned more and more how to deal with the situation, to be the different one in a room, to be accepted. I know what my capabilities are, and I don't think I need that approval from others to tell me that, oh, you did a great job, you know what you're doing. I know, by now I know. I've had enough experience from others telling me that, okay, they want me, they want what I'm capable of, my personality, because they know I will get the job done. So that's already there something that is within me.
That's great. I love that. So on to slightly more positive. I mean, so both of you have so much to offer. So what advice specifically can you offer other folks, Latin Hispanic professionals that are in business?
They're in business. Do you want me to go first or?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Oh, okay. They have to be persistent. They should understand that the obstacles will be there and it won't be easy. And sometimes they will receive answers such as no due to their background, because we still have those people around. But the main thing is, if they have if they're honest, their character, that will come around. People will see those traits and then they will come back. So I just say keep working hard and make sure you're honest, you're on the path. It will come back, and I'm proof. Yes.
Yes, I do believe in the karmic nature of all of it. And one thing that you touched on before too that I didn't bring up, because I'm also Afro Latina, right? And I feel like that is a whole other added layer of I was just on a podcast recently. We just recorded it the other day, and Chancleta Generation. So check that out if you're around. And we talked about that experience of, because I'm not, both my parents identify or look Black, right? Even though my dad's like some of his siblings, they look more Hispanic, right? They're tan, they have green eyes, they're full siblings, right? And but I feel like my experience, I did grow up monoracial yet multicultural, because my mother is of Jamaican descent, but I actually grew up more with my Panamanian family, right? Like I had an abuelita that would like took care of me when I was younger, and like when my parents were in grad school and all of those things. So I feel like that was my experience, and it's hard for me to convey that. So I guess the advice that I tell people, at least from our identities, is that to not make assumptions about us and how we grew up, or like we're one way, because we're not monolith, right? Like we all have different experiences. So I meant to bring that up before. And the persistence is key. Yeah, you gonna say something else, Angela?
If I may, just like assumptions, right? When people ask me where I'm from, I say I'm from Brazil. They look at me. So I'm like, okay, do not assume that just because I'm from Brazil, I am from the Amazon. I've never been to the Amazon, and I don't understand. I don't know what happens there. I'm from a large city, and like a modern large city, and people just going back to the assumption, they just look at you, you say something about your background, and with their some, let's say, little knowledge about it, they will assume, and that transfers into business. Because you're going to see some business owners that they're working. You look at them, they come to our BNI meeting. They come to the meeting as they are, as they work. You're gonna judge the person just because you see the plumber like coming like that. No, you should not. Do not assume.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Jess, any advice that you would like to offer?
Honestly, what I was gonna say is almost identical to like what Angela said, and it's honestly is you have to be relentless. Like just keep going. And oddly enough, I just recently got a new client and he's been having issues with getting a loan. He's like, I spoke to this person, they told me no. I was like, look, I have 15 different lenders that we can talk to. We would speak to all of them until we get a yes. And that's what it is. It's just you keep going until you get a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. And sometimes it's hard to hear that because a lot of times we want things handed easy to us. But man, when you work hard and you get to your goal, it's just that much sweeter. Like for me, it's sometimes forget about everything else. Focus on your goal. Stop focusing on these small, minute things. Not saying that they're not important, but sometimes you need to just keep pushing, just stay focused and just work on your business, get your education, whatever it is that you need to do to get you closer, figure it out. Don't complain. Don't stay
Exactly.
complaining.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we're all mothers. And I think like your why behind children, right? Like it's really easy to make it about them to keep going. Like there's times like I don't get to lay down. I don't get to, people are always like, you're such a workaholic, which I am in fairness. And but I like to work. But I feel like I can't sit back. I feel like I can't get to like just chill out. You could take a vacation. You do need to recover. And our next question is kind of tied into that. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I hustle. So I'm often called tenacious, alpha, all these other things that people kind of want to put me in this box. But it's just like I gotta hustle, because I feel like if I step back, I'm not going to get the opportunities, whereas someone else could be average. And so yeah, so definitely, and keeping the bigger eyes on the prize, it helps for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That is-
speaking of taking care, oh, Angela, you're gonna say something?
Just one thing,
Yeah.
as women of color, we have to work double because people assume that we can't get the job done. So we always have to keep, like you said, the eyes on the prize. With like being detail oriented, we have to be careful because we know that if anything happens, it will come on us. So that's why we work double. We are attentive. We are just like, all right, I need to make sure this job gets done in the proper, like the best manner, because it's my name and they already look at me differently. So I might as well represent.
That is a great point. Yes, absolutely. It's not my only motivation, but it definitely is there. It's always in the background for sure. So like I said, so everyone here is hearing that we're involved in grind culture. I am trying to be of this new thought of more sleep and rest. So just curious, Jess, what do you do for self-care?
What even is that?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, I had to look it up. But what do you
Honestly, for me, it's a glass of wine and a good book. I
Nice.
I can spend 3 hours reading a book and get
Nice.
lost. I don't hear anything. Aside from that, it's obviously who doesn't love going on vacation, but
I mean, I'm literally working as I'm away at this moment. So yeah, so I love vacation. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but a nice like unwind, right? Like there's nothing to do. I love that. I love that. Angela, what about you?
I'm a busybody. It's really crazy for me. Like when Jesse said about reading for 3 hours, I was like, I'm jealous. Excuse me? What is that? But I love exercising. So if I can run, if I can, it's interesting, but if I'm exercising, I get that adrenaline, that helps me a lot. I feel accomplishment. Yes. That's my self-care.
great.
So yeah, I've been to many places. So when I eventually get to South Dakota and I go to Rapid City, you and I will go for a run. I love, everyone knows me that I'm crazy and I wake up at 4 a.m. and run. Actually, I haven't run in a couple days, but I've done a lot of hot yoga. But I love to exercise, but my unwinding, I watch ridiculous TV nonsense that doesn't mean anything, and just be able to relax and enjoy myself, because I'm so serious all the time. So I like to just watch something that's mindless, or I'll watch repeats of shows that I used to love from like the 90s, because I am just like, I wasn't even born in the 90s. But yeah, I just kidding. But yeah, I just like to do mindless stuff and be able to just sit on my beautiful couch and just do nothing. So those moments hardly happen, but that's the way that I kind of cut off work. I leave my computer and I leave everything and I do that. So I think it's important. I've been reading so many books on rest. And again, again, it goes back to women of color, especially mothers. We're such nurturers, we're such like protectors and providers. And I feel like we just grind, and I enjoy, I think it kind of fuels me, but I definitely you need to balance it with the rest. Otherwise you'll burn yourself out. So, and if we're not taken care of, then who else will we talk to? Or, who will be able to take care of other people? So
Right.
So BNI, we hear this is a BNI talk. And so, you know, how has BNI helped your business now? Jess, you're super new at BNI. For those that don't know, Jess is the president of a chapter that launched like what, 2 months ago in July?
July 4th.
They're killing it. They're killing. They just added another member like 20 minutes ago. So they're killing it. And she's doing a fantastic job. But so far, I know that you've had benefits already from BNI. So how has it helped your business and compared to other types of networking that you've done?
So I feel like even networking, I'm really new to it. Pre-COVID, I would go to a lot of investor meetups, which is very different. Everyone there is just looking kind of for like a deal. What are you selling? What are you buying? Type of thing. Whereas this here is more you really building connections with people. And it's funny because I feel like with BNI, what I've learned is you don't go into it wanting something. It's just to make that connection, connect with another human, regardless of what the outcome is, and making that genuine connection with someone where you're really interested in what they're saying, what they're doing, whether or not it's beneficial to you. And I think in the end, it is beneficial for you to make those connections, even if you can't actually do business with that person. Like it just having good conversation just makes you feel better. Just human interaction. And with BNI, since joining, I was so offended yesterday. I was speaking to someone and you know, he knows that I do BNI, and I was like, oh, I'm just preparing for something. I have a panel tomorrow. He's like, why do you waste your time with this? I'm like, excuse me. It's like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but if you see that I'm doing it and I'm getting off the phone with you because I need to prepare for something, it's because it's important to me. So regardless of how you feel, he's like, well, do you even think you've grown from it? It's like, yes, not because I owe you an explanation, but yes, if it wasn't beneficial to me, I wouldn't be doing it. Because now you're kind of stepping into the phase where now you're insulting my intelligence because I've decided to do this. And you know, like obviously the conversation went a little bit sour after that. I was just like, I'm gonna get off the phone with you now because I don't like the way this conversation is going. But needless to say, I think BNI has helped me in my business and really personally in how I approach people in general has really changed since I've joined BNI.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think I've seen a change already in the couple of months that we've been working. Stepping into leadership is always just another level. It's another layer of development for yourself professionally. And I think that you're doing a great job. And but I think that it helps overall. So that's great. Angela.
I think I threw an F-bomb in there. I'm sorry.
That's it. We don't have the professional editing so yeah, it's okay. You muted it ish. So okay. Yes, Angela.
BNI has helped my business. So let me tell you this, before we used to have a physical therapist going in and sharing about the business. So then we decided to just keep him like taking care of patients. And then I joined, and then I started showing a different side of the business, more of the like the sales, I'll say the marketing. And I'll tell you, from when I started, and then I was so like intimidated by the group. I was not certain if I was doing the right move, making the right move. And right now, like with the one-to-one meetings that I've been having, I've been learning about the other businesses. I have been learning how to handle our patients or like our other clients at the clinic. And I've grown as a person and professionally speaking. I feel more confident to share about the business that I'm in with others, because the experience when you see some other people talking and you just learn, you get, oh, did you see how that person talked? How did that person approach that situation? So I've been able to, I believe so, put those pieces together and then make my experience better and for the clinic, and also gone into other areas that I had not even imagined. So
yeah, no, that's It's so interesting. A lot of times, my mom talks about why she joined a long time ago, and oftentimes people assume, yes, you do want to grow your business, but a lot of people actually join for mentorship. And because you're around other professionals who are, who have had a business successful or anything else, and you start to hear, but also when you have to show up to a meeting every week prepared because you only have a small amount of time to speak. What I found in my own sales business is that it helped me hone in on my message, and I got really specific. And so that specificity helped me with clients. And I was a good salesperson, but it really upped my conversion rate on closing people because I had to practice what I wanted to talk about every single week. So it changed my entire strategy. So I love hearing about these benefits that you're saying. Yeah, it does help you in your business as well if you're doing it right and practicing. And the same thing just about the networking piece. It just has you approach people differently than you might have before because you're practicing every week. So the people that are the most introverted, you have to at least once a week, you're going to be with other people engaging in networking. And so I think it's great. I love it, obviously, because I've been in for 20 years. The last thing, and if anybody here, thank you so much for our guests that are or our audience rather, that's here live. If you have any questions, please put them in, or if you have any stories to share as well, you can feel free to put them in the chat. Any resources, so anything that you think that has helped you, anybody, influencers or podcasts or books that you want to share about that maybe would be helpful for people?
Specific to BNI or just anything in general?
No, just in general, like I guess being, a Hispanic businesswoman, some of the things that we've talked about, any resources that you think would be valuable, any of those books that you've read.
I mean, I can tell you the book that changed my trajectory and just even getting started in real estate, which was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's in like every single language. So para los que hablan español, lo pueden comprar en español y entenderlo. So that's definitely the number one book that I would say just changes your mindset a lot. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
It's been funky. What a day. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, no. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, just powerful. I think it's one of the books I read every couple of years, just to jump back in, because I think it's
we're losing. Is it just me? I think we lost you again.
Yes, I don't see her nor hear.
I can see her, but I can't hear her.
Neither on my end.
Ay, caramba.
But
can you hear?
that's
Oh, I think we got you back.
You got me back. Yes. Okay. It is wild, folks. It's planetary stuff going on. Okay. So no, that Rich Dad Poor Dad is a fantastic book, and it's one of the books that you revisit, is what I was saying, every so often, and it's just for mindset. It's not just what it sounds like, but it's deeper because it goes by mindset. So that's a great book recommendation.
My opinion, just reading in general, is when you do go back to books to reread them, you always pick up something new.
Yeah, because you're in different stages in your career, in your life, right? So there's always that's why I said, like, oh my goodness, I've read this book, and How to Make Friends and Influence People, or all these types of books. They're just always, they never get old.
The 5-hour work week is another one that is really
Tim
good
Ferriss.
for high productivity, and really that's a good book too.
Yeah. Oh, I love me some Tim Ferriss. Yeah.
Yes.
He's fantastic. He's got podcasts. He's got all kinds of stuff. He does a lot of stuff with efficiency and using the time that you do have, really banging everything out and then having that balance. So he's fantastic, just to be more efficient. Angela, do you have anything to add?
So you mentioned being more efficient, and here I am trying to handle my listening to podcasts from BNI, and then taking the kids to school, and then all of that. So yes, that's something that's really good. I really appreciate. Have I been able to connect those, not yet, but I know I'm getting closer, definitely. However, I have this book that I've been using since when I started working at About You Physical Therapy, and it's building a strong brand, a story brand, and by Donald Miller. It's really interesting for those who are starting a business, and then if they want to send the right message to their audience and to actually focus on who their audience is, and then start working on that.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love that. Awesome. So we'll remember those resources. Hopefully folks wrote those down and we'll read them or read them again. Yeah. So yeah, that's fantastic. It's right there.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you.
So I don't know if there's any questions at all. So while we're waiting for folks to put any questions in the chat, Jess or Angela, did you have anything to add? Any final thoughts?
I guess I can share. Being where I'm at today does not mean that it happened overnight. I have a lot of people that have seen how hard and I've worked to get where I'm at. And yes, there were obstacles. However, I'm very thankful, and I tell you, I'm blessed because by keeping working hard, they all saw how Angela was and what Angela could provide to their business or to another individual. And the opportunities, they started coming and they keep on coming. And then I just say, amen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, it's definitely a marathon and not a sprint. Jess, anything else?
I don't know. I think for me, it's just, I think that as Hispanics and Latinos, we're a strong community. And one of the things that I'd like to kind of enforce, because I do feel, there's my son calling for me, because I do feel that in some of our communities, we lack that unity sometimes. And I just feel like we can get so much further if we have more of that unity. I'm working with so many clients, and more recently now on the Hispanic side, like strictly speaking Spanish, do not speak a lick of English. Working with people that, have ITINs, don't have a social, figuring out a way to get them a house. And it's inspiring to see that they've sold everything back home and they're here and they're working their butts off. And that goes to like, that encompasses Hispanics. It's just the hard work and wanting better for our families.
Love it. Absolutely. No, it's so true. I mean, that's just where I come from. My dad, he worked at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Manhattan for 34 years. Ironically, his last day, he couldn't go in because it was Superstorm Sandy. And but he worked every day. And I think he walked away with like 102 days extra over his vacation because he just didn't take them because he was just grinding the whole time. Yeah, like he just enjoyed going to work and he loved what he did. He was a scientist. And so yeah, no, it's just the way that I was brought up. So you saying that kind of touched me and moved me to almost to tears. So yeah, I love that. That was beautiful. We do have one question. What, if any, positive experiences marked you personally and professionally since deciding to stay in your own business or your profession? So that came in privately.
Wait, sorry, repeat the question again.
Sure. It says, it's in the chat. It says, what, if any, positive experiences marked you personally and professionally since deciding to stay in your own business? I think that's what it's meant to say.
I'll jump to this. In my situation, being like, I love making processes better, situations better, and just to be able to see that people, they are trusting me to get their business going. That's inspiring. That's just like motivational. It's just like motivating, sorry. That just keeps me going. I can do this. Give me more. I can do this. Obstacles, yes. Give me more. I can do this.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
I think for me, if I'm understanding the question correctly, just a particular situation that I experienced that did mark me in the way that I see things is actually I learned so much at my old position as a real estate accountant. And while not everyone was on my corner, I did have people there. And one of those people, because of an NDA, I can't really say as much, but the main thing that I learned was, he offered to help me in purchasing my home and loaned me a whole lot of money, and he didn't do it, oh, here, go ahead and do that. I still had to, show that I knew what I was doing, but the fact that he was willing to give me that opportunity for nothing in return kind of made me see, like, you hear about people don't give chances. No, people do. There are those opportunities. It may not come in the package you're expecting it to come in, but leading with wanting to help someone else brings a lot of positive to your own life. And I'm getting emotional. I don't know why, but I do feel that it impacted my mind a lot, how I proceed now. And I want to help all my clients. I don't know why I'm so emotional.
It's you're emotional because it's often it's less help that we get than not. And I think what you're speaking to, and Angela mentioned this kind of before, is advocacy, and someone that's in your, like, someone that advocates and is a voice for you and speaks for you and helps you with nothing in return. I had a previous mentor. Oh, he was the best. I think the top two people, that had worked for prior to being here in BNI, they really, they were advocates, and they were like amplifiers. They wanted to help amplify my life and help amplify me in business, and give me as much visibility as possible. And I think we're not used to that, right? We're used to people kind of stomping us down or kind of like pushing us aside. And I think so that's what you're saying. I always get emotional, Jessica. So I'm just trying to not, because I've had some
Me
similar
too.
things. Yeah, it's because in those moments, right? Because it feels like the world tells us that they're against us. In those moments that you can find those amazing people to support you, it's just really impactful. And I'm always in the thought of, um, if I get a seat at the table, we're all getting fed. Like, I'm going to find a way to get us all at the table. And so I think that's to your point of what you're doing. I'm a big helper for sure. So thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable. Well, on that note, we're just wrapping up. Thank you so much to our guests. Please make sure that you connect with them, find them on LinkedIn, reach out to them, do a one-to-one with them. Both Jess and Angela, thank you both so much for being here. Truly appreciate it. This was a lovely conversation. So thank you both for saying yes. Next month, we have Indigenous Peoples Day. And so we have the link there in the chat to register. You can join us, and we'll have some panelists again to have these amazing conversations. If you know someone or identify as Indigenous, please let me know. And you can reach out to me at claudiathompson@bni.com. Otherwise, thank you all so much, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.